Are you kind of new to the kink world and looking for love? Are you looking for like a long-term relationship, a short-term, a play partner, any of that kind of stuff? Well, today I'm going to talk about one of the scams that I've seen happen a lot in the BDSM world. I'm going to do other videos on various scams as well, but this one is aimed at the male subs and bottoms out there. So if that is something that interests you, stick around. So as both a kinkster and a professional dominant, there's these kind of scams really, really bother me. First of all, as you know, just a woman and a dominant, it bothers me because I see a lot of these guys who get very frustrated, wondering if there's any women out there who do this for fun and for the love of it rather than money. And of course there are. I am a perfect example of that. I engage in DS relationships. I'm involved in one right now. My boyfriend is also my submissive. Now, we do have a monogamous relationship, so I'm not looking for any partners right now. But, you know, before meeting him, I was looking for people. So we are out there. You just have to look in the right places. Now, also, as a professional dominant, it bothers me because I then get lumped in with all of these people that are trying to pull a scam. Now, my professional domination services have always been very upfront. I've never, you know, tried to lure somebody in by pretending that they were going to get a romantic relationship with me and then being like, oh, but you have to pay me per hour. I'm always very upfront about that. I have websites, I have advertising on appropriate venues where I've had to pay to advertise, not, you know, free venues or anything like that. And that's how I get my clientele. And believe me, there is no shortage of clientele for good professional dominance. Anyways, let's talk about these scams. Because I think that they are really detrimental to the kink community as a whole, and also to those of us who run legitimate, decent, honest businesses. So let's talk about this scam. And this is one that I've only seen popping up fairly recently, so I believe it's kind of a newer sort of scam that some people are using. Now, we tend to see different types of scams depending on who the target is. In this case, this scam, rather not we, but the scam is targeting male submissives. So, of course, the thing that they're after is money. There are other scams that are targeting, you know, female submissives, and those ones are usually looking for naked pictures and free porn, and people will, like, you know, record play sessions online and sell them and stuff like that. We'll get into that at another time. But in this case, they're looking for money because the target is male submissives. So the way that this one starts is that a person, because we don't even know who this person is, messages a male sub claiming to be a female dominant. They begin chatting, exchanging emails. Now, usually you can kind of pick these ones out because they'll have like really porn-oriented profiles. So like if you go to my profile on FetLife, and that's the only one I have a profile on, you'll see that I talk about who I am as a person, my interests. You know, I do on my profile mention that I'm a pro-dom, and you can go to my website if you want information there, because I don't do business through FetLife. It's not an appropriate venue for doing business. But I talk about who I am and as a person. Now, if you wanted to get, if you looked at the profile and it's all very porn oriented, so if it's like, get on your knees, slave, you know, worship me, I'm the best, female supremacy, blah, 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 all that kind of really porny stuff, then you know that the profile is kind of probably a little fucked up and probably belonging to somebody who's looking for money. I don't want to say always, because I do know some people that make those profiles that aren't looking for money, but 9 times out of 10, those profiles are looking for money. But anyway, so this you know, female dominant, because again, we don't know that she even actually exists, starts messaging a male sub. And within a couple of messages says, oh, I'd love to meet. We're perfect for each other. Let's meet for a play session. And let's meet at this cool BDSM hotel that I've heard about. So these BDSM hotels, because they aren't. They'll have like a website, and I see them using the exact same photos over and over. I don't know if the photos are stolen from somewhere or if it's just like the same people reusing the photos and coming up with a different name and a different location and blah, 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 blah. So, but they always have the same photos. I'm waiting to see photos of like a friend's dungeon or my own dungeon. That kind of thing, because I'm sure it will happen at some point. But anyway, so they claim that this is a BDSM hotel. Now, I am not aware of any BDSM hotels out there. I know that there are a bunch of kink B&Bs, and they're usually either, well advertised within the kink community, or they're by invitation and like invitation only. So you have to be referred to this kink B&B if you want to stay there. I've stayed at a couple. They're awesome. They'll have playrooms and stuff like that. But it's usually just like regular kinksters that, have turned part of their home into a B&B. So you would not find like this huge multi-location BDSM hotel. These things don't exist as far as I'm aware. So one of the things that I've noticed on these websites, because I've seen it a couple of times now and I've looked at the websites, is that the locations don't make any sense. For instance, one recently that popped up, one of the locations that they advertise is an empty lot in a really bad neighborhood in Chicago. So, I mean, I doubt that there is this high-end, $350, $450 a night hotel in a really shitty area in Chicago that happens to be an empty lot. That makes no sense. Another one that I saw a couple of months ago that I kind of laughed at is one that was advertising, locations in Canada. And so I was like, oh, I'm curious to see where these, locations are. So I looked and they're like, oh, we have, and this is not a joke, but they claimed to have a location in Labrador, which only the whole province has a population of a couple of thousand people. And they also claim to have one in Nunavut. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Canadian geography, Nunavut is one of our provincial territories that it is basically inhabited by Inuit people, and it is in the far, far north, the kind of place where they get the, 23 hours of night in the winter and 23 hours of day in the summer. Now, that's obviously the northern part of the province, but it's mostly tundra. There are polar bears, like all of these images that people have of Canada. That's none of it. So, now, of course, they didn't have any, locations in major Canadian cities. So nothing in Toronto or Ottawa or Edmonton or Calgary or Vancouver, Victoria, or anything like that. It was, these itty bitty little places where there's no actual people. So, I mean, I don't think that, logistically, that's a shitty place to put any kind of hotel, really, where there's no people and there's no reason for anybody to ever go there unless you're studying caribou or something. Hi to my friend who's in Nunavut studying caribou, because that's a thing. But anyways, there's no reason. It makes no sense. This hotel would make no money, even if it was a regular hotel, but then to be like such a specialized niche hotel. Like even if you did that in Toronto, where we have like, I can't remember what the population of Toronto is. It's a couple of million. I think I'll like post the correction somewhere. But anyways, like even in Toronto, there's not enough of a demand, I don't think, for something like that. There are a couple of B&Bs around here in the Toronto area. And like they do an okay business, but it's not like they're overwhelmed. And again, these are businesses in people's homes where they have like 2 or 3 rooms to rent. This is not like a huge hotel type thing. So anyways, the other thing that I've noticed on a lot of these sites is that you can tell that whoever wrote it, English is not their first language. So it's really, a lot of grammatical errors. There's a lot of spelling errors as well. In fact, the one most recently, instead of suites, it said suits. So you could rent, a king size suit instead of a king size suite. So just little things like that. It was kind of humorous to look at. But at the same time, you know, I don't want people to fall for this because they're going to be out of the money. So of course, you rent the hotel room, right, on the website, and then you go to your little meetup with this dominant woman, and you arrive at an empty lot in a really shitty neighborhood in Chicago. You know, hopefully you don't get robbed or something like that. I don't know if that's part of the scam. I haven't heard from anybody that has actually followed through on this. Most of these guys have been like, wait a minute, this is not right. So there's that. So generally speaking, when you kind of get somebody that initiates a message and then moves really quickly. Like, I mean, I've messaged people before online being like, hey, I think you're really interesting, you know, like I'd like to chat, hang out, whatever. That happens. But when they start moving really quickly into like, oh, we should rent a hotel that you should pay for and we'll go play, I think that's where your problem lays, right? Like if I meet people online, it's not something I do often because it's just not my preferred method of dating. But if I do that, I do typically want to meet people very quickly, right? So, you know, within a couple, I mean, if I'm feeling a good vibe, we've exchanged a couple of messages, I like to try to meet within that sort of first week. That is the way I go about it because I want to see face to face if I still get, you know, if I'm still into that person. One of the things that I've learned over the last 10 years of being a professional dominant is that I have really honed my instincts and I've listened to them. So I like to meet people in person. So that in and of itself isn't a warning sign if somebody wants to meet quickly, but if they want to meet to play really quickly and then it costs you money, that's probably a scam. So again, let's just kind of quickly go over the warning signs. Porny profiles, so get on your knees, worm kind of profiles, you like worthless worm, pathetic sub, whatever. Those are generally very porn oriented and they're not genuine dominant women. Most genuine dominant women that I know appreciate sub men, you know, because they're our ideal partners. They're generally interested in them romantically. Some aren't, obviously, but yeah, we're not going to have these porny profiles. They ask you to meet really quickly for play specifically and to pay for a hotel room. They don't want to meet for a coffee or like dinner or anything like that. First, they want to just meet and at this hotel for play, and that's it. So that typically is a good warning sign. Most women are going to want to meet you first, at least to have a coffee, a meal, a drink, whatever, just to see if you click. Right? Because like you can't do chemistry online. Like I've talked to some people and I've been like, wow, we're really getting along. This feels really cool. And then I meet them in person and I'm like, sorry, there's just nothing there. You know, and I'm sure people have said the same about me. It happens. And this particular scam relies on your embarrassment, that you're not going to challenge the charge through your credit card company because you got scammed, because it involves BDSM and it may look like you were paying for sex or something like that. So they're going to, and not that I think that paying for sex is anything anybody should ever be embarrassed about. I think that that's a silly sort of thing. It's not a shameful thing, but that is another thing entirely. But they're going to rely on your shame and your embarrassment. So, you know, I don't know if it shows up on credit card statements as BDSM dungeon or something like that, but, you know, they're going to rely that you will not call your credit card company to challenge those charges and explain the whole situation. So anyways, this is just one of the many, many dating scams and stuff that are out there. And I'm going to talk about more of them as we go along. I'll also say that if you are interested in dating advice, I will do some videos about that in the future. But I do have a series on my website about kinky dating, and it's all free. There's no charge. So you can go and you can read the articles and check it out and see if it's helpful to you at all. So I'll leave links somewhere up here and down below so that you can check out those articles as well. So thank you very much, guys, for checking out this video. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up. If you find this information helpful, please, if you do know of various scams or anything like that going around in the BDSM world, please leave me comments and tell me about them so that I can kind of look into it and we can warn other people, because that is the point of all of this. I want to warn other people so that nobody gets taken in by a scam. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. I do 2 educational videos per week, Tuesday and Saturday. And, you know, if I think we're getting close to 1,000 subscribers, so maybe we'll bump it up soon to 3 videos per week. We'll see how my schedule allows. But anyways, thanks very much, and I'll see you guys in the next video.